we'll have a small discussion, more than a discourse. It will be like a discussion on the subject meditation, preventive and curative. How meditation cures the illnesses and prevents the illnesses, physical and mental. I'll try to give you a few information, then you can put any questions you want. I'll try to respond to the questions. Hope you are able to follow my accent. First, let us understand the word curative and preventive. We all give so much of emphasis, we put so much of our effort, we spend all our money, energy, everything to cure the diseases. But we forget to put even 1% effort to prevent the diseases. Not only as an individual, as a group, or as a society, or as a country. We open so many hospitals. All the governments of the world, they spend so much of time, energy, money in curing the diseases. But somehow I do not know, they don't believe in preventing the diseases. Because first thing, we don't believe the disease can be prevented. People who are working on the medical field, whether in the field of psychology or in the field of physiology, they are continuously working only with patients, the scientists, the doctors, the research scholars. They are working only with the patient. So finally they have come to a conclusion, man as such is illness. That's a beautiful letter written by Sigmund Freud after the research of 30 years in the field of psychology. Of course, Sigmund Freud is considered to be a father of psychology. He says, according to my experience, man as such is sickness. Man as such cannot live happily. Of course, the specimens which he got, fortunately or unfortunately, he had only patients to do research. All his life he met with only patients, sick people. So naturally, he did not have the opportunity to interact with a Buddha, with an enlightened man, with a person who has achieved spiritual bliss in himself. Because he did not have the opportunity to have contact or connection with an enlightened man, with a spiritual person, he came to a conclusion, life as such is misery. Human being as such cannot be healed. Human being as such is nothing but the bundle of sufferings. He concluded, you cannot heal human beings as such. But Eastern mystics, the rishis, declare Amritasya Putraha, human beings as such. Human beings by nature are the embodiment of immortality. Human beings by nature the embodiment of energy. Human beings by nature, the embodiment of bliss. You see, after such a lot of research, psychology has come to a conclusion. The nature of the human being is sickness. But the rishis, they declare the nature of the human beings is bliss. Of course, which point of view you take up, based on that your whole life will be changed. Your whole life will be changed based on that point of view. The rishis speak about potentiality. Sigmund Freud is speaking about the reality in which we are living. The reality is the sickness. We have physical, mental sicknesses. But even though we have sickness, life itself is not a suffering. Just because you see the clouds, you cannot say sky itself is nothing but clouds. There is some space beyond the clouds which we call pure sky. There is a space in which sun shines, the silence, the beauty, the bliss prevails beyond the sky. Just because you see clouds from here, you cannot say sky is nothing but clouds. So rishis declare, any disease is nothing but a cloud in your body, in your mind. Just like clouds, this also will pass, this also will move. We work intensely to cure once we fall sick. But somehow we don't try to prevent. Because when you are healthy, you take your body for granted. You take your health for granted. When you are healthy, you don't even remember your body. The definition of health is, if you are able to forget your boundary, you are healthy. If you are able to forget your body, you are healthy. There's a beautiful saying in Taoism, when the shoe fits, leg is forgotten. When the belt fits, belly is forgotten. When the chain fits, neck is forgotten. You forget. If you are healthy, you forget your whole body. You don't remember your body. You don't remember your boundary. You don't think that I should do something to maintain my health. One more thing. We always think no diseaseness as a health. If you are not going to any hospital, if you are not taking any medicine, if you are able to manage your day-to-day routine without any medication, you think you are healthy. But according to me, the definition for health is a positive well-beingness. It is not only no diseaseness. No diseaseness is only one part of health. There is something more to health than simple no diseaseness. The positive well-being. Positive well-being more than no diseaseness is what I call health. Life. If you look at the life from the point of view of the masters, ancient masters, the rishis, they say it is just to be lived in a blissful way. They say Anandam Brahma Navyajanat. There is a quotation in Sanskrit. It means existence is bliss Don't waste it by missing it. Existence is the very existence. Your very life, your very breathing, your very living in this body is bliss. They say the body is filled with nectar, with bliss. The very life is bliss. And then they advise, please don't waste it by not enjoying it, by not experiencing it. If you are experiencing life as a misery, life as a totality of clouds, you are missing life somewhere seriously. You are sick somewhere very seriously. If you are feeling life is a suffering, then be very clear, you are missing the life somewhere very seriously. Only when you feel life is a great blessing, only when you feel life is a great energy, life is an overflow of energy, you are living it. Existence is bliss. You cannot exist without bliss, because anything in the world can exist only when it has got the feeling that it is going to have some bliss or it is having some bliss. Even the early morning, when you get up, if you remember somebody who gives you inspiration, or if you remember some joy, some pleasure which gives you inspiration, only then you will even think of getting up from the bed. Otherwise, what will you think? Oh, let us lie down. Let us have a little more time. Only when you remember something which you are supposed to do, which is going to give you directly or indirectly the bliss, joy, immediately you jump out of your bed. Bliss is the one and only inspiration. Joy is the one and only hope with which human beings are still alive on the planet Earth. Life as such is bliss. Only when you understand life as such is bliss, we will be able to go forward, we will be able to move ahead in our journey of preventing the diseases. As long as you have a deep faith that life as such is a misery, whatever you do will be against the life. You will go against the current, because you will think life as such is misery. Let me try to escape from the misery. But if you understand life as such is bliss, you will try more and more to relax. Only two options. If you think life as such is misery, you will try to escape from the earth. You will try to fly. You will try to escape somewhere. If you think life as such is joy, bliss, then you will try more and more to relax. Meditation. When I use the word meditation, what I mean, let me explain. Putting your mind totally at ease with your body and with your consciousness is what I call meditation. Now, your body and mind are not ease with each other. Let me give you the scale. What I mean by the word mind and body in ease with each other. If you are totally living comfortably inside your boundary, inside the boundary of your body, your mind is comfortable with your body. But as on now, just see the way in which your mind and body lives. If your body, if you are in the house morning, you are thinking about your office. What has to be done here, what has to be done there. If you are in the office, You are thinking of evening going to some party or some outing or to some beach. If you are in the beach, you are thinking when to go back to the house. When you are in the house, again you start planning for the next day morning. If you are in the house, you can be sure your mind is not in the house. That much is sure. You are not staying inside your boundary. If you are here, we can be sure of one thing, your mind is not here. That much is sure. Wherever your body is, you are not. Your being, your mind is not comfortable with your body. That is why it moves anywhere, here and there. You are not happy with the present moment. That is why either you indulge in the past or you try to brood over about the future. The pull towards the future or being caught up in the past happens because you are not happy with the present. If you are happy, if you are enjoying the present moment, this moment of your body and mind, naturally you will see your mind is eased with your body. Your mind will not be moving around. It will not be too much worrying about the past, or it will not be too much bothering about the future. If you are too much bothering about the future and the past, be very clear, your mind is not staying inside your body. Your mind is not eased with your body. There is a two kind of thinking. One is planning, another one is worrying. Planning happens based on your body. Planning means the chronological planning. You plan for your day-to-day routine. Tomorrow what I am supposed to do, day after tomorrow what I am supposed to do. You make a goal in your life. The planning is perfectly alright. That happens keeping your body as a center. Your consciousness, your mind stays inside the body and it works. You plan it. Planning never sucks your energy. If you know planning, it never sucks your energy. It never makes you tired. You never feel sucked by planning. Planning never depresses you. Planning never makes you feel bored, disturbed about the life. It just continuously gives you energy. I tell you, the people who do the planning in the field of construction or in the field of machineries, they feel a tremendous satisfaction. They feel deep satisfaction of creating something. A proper planning is creativity. One more thing, only God can create. If you are creating, you are experiencing godliness for that few moments. Only when you experience godliness in you for few moments, you can also become a creator. Anything on the planet Earth can be created only by God. If you are creating, you are experiencing godliness for the few moments. That is why these great poets and great dancers, great musicians, they will have such a deep satisfaction in their being, such a deep fulfillment in their being. You cannot imagine the fulfillment and the satisfaction people get when they create something solidly. That is why the field of music, field of dance, the field of art. In the field of art, So many thousands travel. It is not that everyone is getting paid. There are thousands of people who do it as a hobby. Why that becomes hobby for somebody? Because it gives a deep fulfillment. Fulfillment can come only when you experience godliness which is inside you. People who experience godliness, only they can create. When you create, you experience godliness. When you experience godliness, you create. Because God is the one and only creator. Except Him, nobody can create. When a woman becomes mother, she feels totally satisfied. She reaches her fulfillment because she has created. She has realized her potentiality. When the seed becomes tree, it gets such a deep satisfaction because it has realized its potentiality. So when you start creating, you realize your potentiality. You realize the God within you. Creativity, creating makes you realize your potential energy, and creativity fulfills you, rejuvenates you continuously. Second type of thinking, worrying, means you will not be center of your mind. Your body will not be center of your mind. Your mind will be centered on something else, somewhere else. Your body will be here, but your mind is traveling somewhere, thinking something and brooding over about the future. Either you create imaginations based on greed, or you create fears, phobias based on fear. Greed and fear. When you travel in these two space, in these two zones, Rishis have beautifully described the greed, fear, anger, jealousy, all these emotions as a hell. You should understand, hell is not geographical, it is psychological. Hell is not geographical, it is psychological. It is the state in which your mind stays. It is the space with which your mind is staying. When you are filled with greed and fear, you are worrying. You are in the space of hell. You are not comfortable with yourself. You are not comfortable with your body. You are not happy with your body. So naturally, you feel a deep discontentment. You feel a deep discontentment. You create more and more troubles for your body and for your mind. When I say the word meditation, I mean your mind living totally ease with your body. You living inside your boundary. You living comfortably with your boundary. That is what I call meditation. There are thousands of techniques to reach that state. Those techniques are called meditation techniques. Let me explain how the meditation is going to cure you and how it can going to prevent you from the sicknesses. First, physically, there are thousands of researches which has proved meditation cures illnesses. In our own experience, in my own life, not only in my body, I have seen in thousands of people's body meditation doing miraculous cure and healing. Just a month ago, before I started my trip, maybe 1.5 months ago, one lady, she came to meet me. She was having 20 years of psoriasis, skin disease. She said, I have tried all possible medications, Swamiji. Please help me, do something and help me. I was sitting and speaking to her. When I was speaking, I was able to find out she has got a deep self-condemnation. She has got a deep self-condemnation and low self-esteem about herself. After speaking to her, I just gave her a small suggestion. Please stand in front of mirror and shout at yourself, scream at yourself for 15 minutes a day. This is what I gave. Stand in front of mirror for 15 minutes and shout, scream as much as possible on you. Bring out the anger, the violence, self-condemnation which you have on yourself. I told her, shout, bring it out, express it, vomit it out, finish it off. Of course, naturally she said, no, how can I do all these things? I am already in depression and disturbed mood. You are telling me to do something impractical. Swamiji, don't tell all these things. I told her, please try just for 21 days. I am not asking more, just 15 minutes, 21 days. You are suffering 20 years. Why not give me 20 days? She said, all right, I'll try. I just told her, stand in front of mirror, feel as if you are going to jump out of your skin, shout, scream as much as possible, condemn yourself as much as possible, shout at yourself as much as possible, bring all the negativity out and throw away. You will be surprised. You will be shocked. We have recorded medically. 15th day, she was totally healed. In 15 days, she is totally healed. And it never came back. Of course. She says, in these 20 years, not even one day, her skin has become alright. Even if she takes strong medication, she will only feel a little bit of development, never a total cure. Now, without any medication, without any medicine, just by meditation, totally she has been healed. This is a technique from Sufism. The technique which I gave her is from Sufism. Totally she has been healed. Difficult to believe. But like the same way, thousands and thousands of cases were recorded. Actually, skin disease is nothing but a byproduct of self-condemnation and low self-esteem. Same way, we have thousands of written testimonials, written letters, and medical reports for the power of meditation to cure the sicknesses physically. Of course, mentally, there is no need even for any testimonial. If you just practice, you will understand. To know the apple is tasty, you don't need any testimonial or certificate. Have a bite, you will understand. To know the meditation cures mental sicknesses. Meditation makes you feel the well-being inside your mind. You don't need to believe, just have a bite. Then you will realize what miracles meditation does. It gives you a deep fulfillment. Not only health, deep fulfillment. almost all our psychological disorders are based on fear and greed. Too much of greed, too much of hope leads to hopelessness. According to me, all hope leads to hopelessness. Hope means path to hopelessness. Hopelessness is the goal to which you are traveling through the path of hope. Hope is the path, hopelessness is the goal. Any hope only leads to hopelessness. If you are hoping to have some money, if you have not achieved, God saved you, you will not fall in depression. If you achieve, you will have something called depression of success. You have achieved that money, but you have not achieved the joy which you expected you will achieve by achieving that money. There's a two thing. You don't work for money just for the sake of money. You think you will have something through the money. But only when you achieve that status, that number one, the top of the ladder, you feel like a fool. Oh, I have done, but what did I gain? What did I get? What am I getting? Only when you achieve your hope, you understand you have ended up in hopelessness. Till you achieve your hope, you will have the hope. At least you have hope. But once you have achieved the hope, all your hopes, you will see the hopelessness in it. That is why people who have had enough of outer world, they turn towards the inner world. Automatically they turn towards the inner world. Because fulfillment of the hope leads you to the hopelessness. Meditation, not only it takes you beyond the fear and greed, it gives you a deep sense of fulfillment, well-being. It just makes you feel the life itself is ecstasy. Life is too short to be spent in worrying. You can't afford to worry in such a short span. Life is so valuable, you can't afford to spend that in worrying. Your present moment is so valuable, you can't afford to spend the present moment in chasing the future or for the sake of past. You cannot waste your present moment for the sake of past or for the sake of future. Meditation makes you to realize the value of present moment. Meditation makes you to feel, to experience the ecstasy of the present moment. Of course, because we have never experienced this moment, present moment, what Buddha calls as tathata. Tathata means the suchness. We have never experienced the suchness. We are nothing but a link between past and the future. We are never an entity. We are never an individual in present. We have never experienced the suchness. Only when you experience suchness, you will understand the beauty and grandeur of it. Then you understand my statement, life is bliss, life is joy, life is ecstasy. Rishis always declare life is ecstasy. When you experience the bliss, you feel such a deep contentment, such a deep fulfillment, such a deep satisfaction. Not only you prevent diseases happening, the basic disease, the idea I am the body itself is cured. There are two kinds of diseases in us. One is sickness related to body and sickness related to the idea I am the body. First thing, sickness related to body can be cured and prevented by meditation. There are thousands of records. One doctor, Mr. Murali Krishna, is from Oklahoma. He has done a deep research on this mind matter. I know him personally. In his research report called Mind Matter, he has given so many proofs, scientific proofs, how your wrong thinking, your wrong mental setup, your mind disturbs your health. He says, in the moments of anger and violence and in the moments of vengeance, you have 220% more chances for heart attack. So many research scholars, so many doctors prove the mind over the matter, the mind over the body. What miracles, what power your mind has got over your body. If you look little deep, there is no such thing as mind and body exists. There is only one thing called mind-body. There is only one thing, mind-body. One end of your being is body, the other end of your being is mind. What you experience is mind, what you express is body. Expression of the mind is body. Experience of the body is mind. It is the same thing. This end is body, outer end is body, inner end is mind. There is no two separate things, body and mind. There is only one thing, body, mind, that's all. So when you know how to handle your mind, it does miracles on your body, on your health, to cure and to prevent. Above all, ultimately, the ultimate disease, idea I am the body, will also be cured. Because once you start feeling I am the body, you start feeling the boundary. Feeling the boundary is nothing but sickness. When you forget the boundary, you are in health. When you are totally healthy, you don't walk, you just feel like flying. In Zen Buddhism, they say if somebody walks, he cannot be Buddha. Buddha floats. Means don't think he'll be flying, literally. It more means not a physical flying, it's a being which floats. When you are really healthy, when you are really blissful, when you are in ecstasy, you don't walk, you just float. Because your being is so light, so beautiful, just like a flower, you float on the planet Earth. Normally, all the societies, all the communities, all the governments, they work to cure the people, but they never work to prevent the diseases. Meditation will prevent, will destroy very root of the disease. Actually, people want sick people so that they can serve. I have seen many missionaries. I used to ask the people, the voluntary organizations, the missionaries, you are spending so much of your money in curing, why don't you spend a little bit on preventing? They said, no, Swamiji, then our business will be gone. What can we do if the diseases are prevented? We need people to save. We need people to cure. So first they should fall sick. Only then we can cure them, we can help them. So it is the interest of the society. They wanted people to fall sick because they will have the opportunity to cure. That is the reason so many voluntary institutions, so many social service groups, they work to cure, but they never work towards the prevention. Meditation is a wonderful technique to prevent because it never allows any suppression, any repression in your system. It continuously rejuvenates you and cleanses you it cleanses your whole being. Continuous cleaning process of suppression and repression rejuvenates you and keeps you away from the disease and keeps you in a total well-being. Let you take up a little bit of meditation. If time permits, we will have a small technique. Let you take up some meditation technique as a part of your life, not only to cure but to prevent the illnesses and reach the bliss. Nithyananda. Thank you. If you have any questions, because whatever I said is more or less like a hypothesis. If you have anything, you are welcome to question. I'll try to respond. What is time? Hmm? 8:45. Or we can go for meditation. If you have a few questions, you can ask. Yes.
You say bliss, and I have a little translation. I reach for that definition. If I have to ask, maybe I don't know. But describe bliss to me in your words.
Bliss.
Bliss?
I can describe in two ways. One is not feeling caged, bound. Swatantra means the freedom. Second, feeling blessed to have this body. You have a deep feeling that divine has blessed you. The existence has blessed you by your life. The very life is a blessing. The very life is a bliss. A small story. One young man, unemployed, poor, went to the church and started praying to God. Oh God, please help me, have mercy on me. Somehow give me $100. I'll be able to manage my 1 week. Within a week, I'll find out my job, then I'll give you the donation. First $100, please help me. Of course, priest heard the prayer. He really felt sympathetic towards that boy. And priest thought, after all, poor boy, let me try to help him. He put $50 in a cover, went near him and handed over the cover and told, oh, my son, God has told me to hand over this cover to you. Please have it. The boy rushed to his place, opened the cover and saw $50. Immediately he started praying to God. Oh God, Next time when you send money, please send directly. The priest has taken half of his commission. Please don't send through the priest. You see, the boy is looking what is missing, not what is given. He feels life is a suffering, even when he gains, even when he gets something, he is not able to enjoy the life. So when the attitude is set in that way, if your mind is set for that, whatever you gain, finally you make the same comment like that boy. Oh God, next time send directly, don't send through priest. One person came and told me, Swamiji, you say life is bliss, but I have lost my diamond ring. What do you say about it? I am suffering. I told him, fool, feel that you have a finger. You have not lost your finger. Enjoy. Feel the joy and bliss that you are alive. Every moment is just a pure gift from existence. Can you earn your life? You can earn everything to live. But can you earn the life itself? No, not even a single breath. It is a pure gift from existence. Feeling blessed for having this body and life. First thing, not feeling bound, not feeling caged, feeling a tremendous freedom, inner freedom. Next thing, feeling blessed to have this life itself. These are the two feelings, I call it as bliss. These two put together and something more than these two, what I call bliss. In Sanskrit there is a word ananda. I broke that word ananda and gave you the meaning. Means feeling of blessedness, Ashirvada. Nanda means a feeling of freedom, unboundedness. By your very nature, you are in bliss. That is why you work for bliss. See, if you get a headache, you try all your best to come out of headache. Why? You know your nature is not headache. Your nature is headachelessness. So you work towards it. If your very nature is a headache, will you work to come out of headache? You will not even know that there is some period called headachelessness. You will just be in the headache. Now you work for headachelessness because you know that is your nature. So you want to go back to your nature. That's why you work intensely to come out of the headache. You take some pill, you take some medicine, you take some rest, you do something to come out of the headache. Same way, you know for sure in your heart of heart, you know bliss is your nature. That is why you work towards it. You work for it. You strive for it as a nature. Whether you search through meditation or you search through the outworld, money, anything, it is only search for bliss. Search for money is also nothing but search for bliss. You want to expand your boundary. If you have more money, you have more choices. You have more choice. You can choose this or that. That is the reason you want more money. More money means you have more freedom. Your boundary is big. So the expansion of boundary, the more freedom is what you search even through money. Money as well as the meditation. Both is nothing but the path to the bliss. If you go through money, you try through the outer world. If you go through meditation, you try through the inner world. both are nothing but the techniques which you try to the bliss. But the problem is, money gives you choices between sufferings, that's all. You can choose this suffering or that suffering, that's all. But meditation puts you in choicelessness, which is ultimate bliss. Choicelessness is the ultimate bliss. Money gives you choice between sufferings. Meditation gives you choicelessness, which is bliss itself. Yes.
Can you explain something, the difference in pleasure and bliss?
Pleasure, which is between two pains, is bliss. Actually, bliss, when it is marked between two pains, it is pleasure. I can say in this way, the gap between two wars can never be called as peace. It's a preparation for the other war. Gap between two wars, if you call that as a peace, the gap between two pains, you can call that bliss as a pleasure. If I were to put it in a much more clear way, bliss is eternal. The small portion of the bliss is pleasure. Bliss experienced for a very short time is pleasure. When you try to hold the bliss, it just escapes from your hand. It slips away from you. Then it becomes pleasure. Anything which is experienced for a short time, the short time bliss, part-time bliss is pleasure, full-time pleasure is bliss. That's all.
That's why we greet the people, pleasure to meet you. Short time.
See, the bliss itself is choicelessness. People are greedy of my state. When they see me again and again, when they live around me, they are greedy of the state in which I am living. I have seen many people feeling jealous. Swamiji, you are continuously happy, continuously joyful. And they know it is not that I don't have problems. I have enough problems. And just yesterday somebody asked me, seeing the way in which we work, are you spiritual master or CEO? And we work almost like a CEO of a company. So much of work is done. So much of problems are faced. So much of problems are solved. It's not that I don't have problems. I don't have something to do. But people ask me, how are you able to maintain continuous joy, continuous bliss? How it happens? I tell them, it happens because I don't have choice. Choicelessness is bliss. But people choose bliss, then they fall in suffering. Choicelessness is bliss. But when you choose choicelessness, again you are trapped. You are in the trap. You try to work for choicelessness. I tell you, drop the idea to choose or to be in choicelessness. Drop even choice towards choicelessness. Then you will see bliss happening to you. Bliss is like a breeze. You cannot make it happen. You can only open the door to let the breeze in. You can only let the breeze in by opening the door. You cannot make the breeze happen to you. Bliss is like a breeze. You cannot make the bliss to happen. You can only create a space in which bliss can happen. So, if you open the door, the breeze will be in. So, drop the choice between choice and choicelessness. Then you will see bliss happening to you. I think we'll have a small meditation technique. Is it okay with you all? Anybody, for any reason, if you don't want to meditate or if you can't meditate, you can leave the hall. You are free to decide. It's only a choice. It's a very initial level technique which I always give, which I always prescribe for the people to start. A simple technique, but very effective, highly powerful. I call it Maha Mantra, means the greater technique. Mantra means technique. Very simple but highly effective. Let me give you the instruction, then you can start the technique. Just 20 minutes technique. 4 instruction. First, sit straight, let your head, neck and the backbone be in straight line. Next, close your eyes. Third, let me finish the instructions, then you can start doing. Third, create humming sound. Let your mouth be closed, but create a humming sound. Just like humming sound for 20 minutes as intensely as possible. Because this sound clears the energy and air circulation of your system. The energy circulation of your system is cleared by this humming sound. So intensely try to create humming sound. When you hum, you will have the cough, yawning, everything out. Don't bother about it. Let everything be cleared. Feel you are an empty vessel and create vibrations, humming sound, just for 20 minutes. Then finally, sit 10 minutes in a very relaxed way. You will see, you will have a glimpse of a very relaxed mood and a very relaxed body. It's a very powerful technique. Even scientifically they proved that this technique, 20 minutes practice, gives the energy, a rejuvenation of 6 hours of sleep. So 6 hours of sleep, the same rejuvenation, the same energy can be achieved by this 20 minutes of technique. Because it is conscious rest. In the sleep, you don't rest consciously. You fall and come out, you fall and come out. But here, consciously you rest. So, if you are interested, we'll start practicing. Please sit straight.